Welcome to segment 2 of Citizens Forum, being filmed on September the 11th. Our guest in this segment is Will Smith, and we're going to be talking about quite a few different things. So Will, we're going to start with something called Bitcoin, which most people don't know about, so you're going to tell us what it is.
All right, yes, Bitcoin is an alternative currency. It's a currency that is I guess you could call it a cyber currency because it exists in a computer. When most currencies that we have, modern currencies that we have some kind of a paper or some other token that you can hold on to. And Bitcoin is not like that. It's completely virtual, and it's hard to explain. I can't explain exactly how it works because it's very complicated. But
it is there, and it's big.
It's big.
Even though I've never
bigger.
heard of it, really.
It's been around for quite a few years, and it has a few characteristics that are very interesting. It's inherently deflationary, so it tends to increase in value, whereas what we're used to for the past 100 years is an inflationary currency that loses value. The current value of the U.S. dollar, for example, the reserve currency of the world, is about 1 penny compared to what it was when it was originally started. So it's lost all that value, whereas Bitcoin tends to increase in value. It's just part of the way it works. And then the other thing about it is that it's completely anonymous, or it can be. It's encrypted and completely anonymous. So people are voting with their feet because people basically don't like to be watched. I mean, it's been, if you go back in history, like I like to go back to the story of King Hezekiah, one of the last kings before the Israelites were exiled to Babylon. And he let all the Babylonians come in and look at all his treasure. And Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, came in and said, "You idiot, this was the wrong thing to do." And sure enough, they came in and took it all. And it's the same story of the Magna Carta. I mean, you know, that the Magna Carta, the king doesn't get to come and see what you have in your house because they knew he's going to take it. If he sees what you have, he's going to take it. And now we're at the point where I guess people have sort of forgotten that, or most people have forgotten that, so they say, well, here's what I have, and then it goes away. I mean, we've seen it in the Canadian 2013 budget. They're just getting ready to take it away. But anyway, some people are saying, gee, I don't like that. I want my money to be, my holdings to be anonymous, and so they're buying Bitcoins. And the interesting thing is that in the United States, they're trying to regulate it, and so a couple of the exchanges shut down in the last week. But in Canada, here in Vancouver...
When you say exchanges, you mean Bitcoin exchanges?
Yeah, Bitcoin, where you can change money.
Can somebody who's watching this show go out and get Bitcoins?
Yeah, just Google Bitcoin.
And you can buy them.
And you can buy them, and now you're going to be able to exchange them at ATMs in Vancouver. So there's a company called, Bitcoiniacs, I think is the name of them, okay. And they're setting up these ATMs. So you just I think you can do transactions either way. You can either buy or sell Bitcoins from these ATMs, and how that works out, we'll see. But it is becoming more popular. And another interesting thing that happened, which sort of leads us into something else here, is that the German government has officially recognized Bitcoin as a valid private currency, which is a big deal. I mean, when a government. But notice that what's happening here.
How do I get some Bitcoins? Do I buy them with money?
Look on the web. You just Google Bitcoins.
And then I buy them?
You buy them, yeah. I think you can even go into a regular bank and send a wire somewhere and get Bitcoins. But I haven't done it myself, so I'm not really too sure how it works. But it is getting recognized. And another commentator came out, Doug Casey, who's typically involved in mining companies, mining stocks and things like that. He thinks now that Bitcoin is the Napster of the financial world. In other words, the financial guys are not paying attention, and this is really going to eat into their territory.
So just like Napster had a big impact on the musical world.
Right. That's what he's saying. So I think we can look for that, and I think we can look for other things that are sort of isolating the United States, because the United States is becoming, well, for example, another thing the German government did last week is they sent out a private memo to large corporations saying don't use Microsoft products because the NSA has backdoors into it, and that would be a breach of our security, and we don't need breaches of security in our big corporations that are doing important things. So this is going to be an interesting...
But doesn't the NSA have a backdoor into everything? Is there a way to...
Well, there are ways to, I mean, they can probably get into just about anything, but they're not backdoors set up. They have to work a little bit harder on it.
So you mean Microsoft actually opened a backdoor for the NSA to come in?
Yeah. So it's been known for a while, I think. But I wanted to get into Fukushima a little bit more because that's beginning to come out. I've read a lot more. I mean, I've been reading this. I look at a site called enenews.com, which monitors the different things that are going on in these energy disasters, the sinkhole in Louisiana or different oil spills and things like that, but it's also monitoring. It has a whole section on Fukushima. Well, this is coming out now, and if you look at what the reactions are, I mean, like the Canadian government, their reaction was to stop measuring things for radioactivity, but now it really is becoming, people are becoming aware
so you mean
that
after Fukushima happened, the Canadian government stopped the measurements that they were doing for radiation.
Yeah, and now they're the salmon are not coming in. I read an article about the First Nations elder saying that, you know, there are less salmon than they've ever seen. So this is another thing that, and what I wanted to move into is there are some things going on. Like if you get to the point where you're aware of these events that are going on, like the financial crisis, I look at the financial crisis of 2008 as a really sort of an extinction event, because our financial system had a major failure, and it hasn't been operating the same since that time. The velocity of M2, which is the money that's the savings money, not the regular money that everybody uses day to day, but the money that people put into savings. So the velocity of that has just fallen off the cliff, and it hasn't come back. And that to me means that our financial system is not operating in the way that it used to work. But we're not hearing about that. We're just hearing that the various patches that they're doing are going to fix it. And then we have the Gulf oil, we have the Gulf of Mexico oil platform and that big huge leak. And that's arguably, we haven't seen all the devastation from that yet. And then the final one is Fukushima, where we have all this radiation pouring into the ocean, which, you know, we could see that. We don't know what's going to be the end result of that, but people are finally realizing in some of the things that I've read that this is an impossible situation that we may not be able to fix. And so here we are at this point in time when we've created disasters that we may not be able to fix, at least from our current technology. But our technology is obsolete. As you guys have been saying, you know, we kill people to solve social problems. Some people are worth more than others, so we just bomb them and expect that that's going to fix the problem. But it's coming into our consciousness more and more that doesn't really fix anything, that it makes the situation worse. And in quantum physics, one of the properties of these elementary particles, these subatomic particles, is called entanglement, where a particle that's way over here in the universe somewhere is entangled with a particle that's over somewhere else, and they both respond, they both move, or they both react at exactly the same time. It's not something that takes any time. It travels faster than the speed of light, in other words. And then the thing I want to get to on all of this is that these scientists, we're at a crisis now in our civilization, because we have all this technology that scientists have gotten from, they don't even know where they got it. Most people don't know this, but Einstein developed his theory of relativity from doing a thought experiment. So he just sat in his chair one day, or lay in his bed, and said, what if I were a beam of light? What if I were traveling on a beam of light? What would everything look like as I'm traveling past it? And he imagined what that would look like, and then he woke up and wrote down these equations to describe it. So he had this model that he developed of what it would look like, and that developed into the model of E equals mc, or the equation of E equals mc squared. And that, if we turn that equation around, we now know that our universe is not really anything. It's made of energy. So the whole universe that we live in is essentially it's a holodeck, like on Star Trek. It's virtual reality. There's something that's beaming energy, a lot of energy, into this matter that surrounds us, or that we're made of, and with information somehow creates this matter. And so we live in this, and we're sort of unconscious of it. But now we're becoming more conscious. Like some of the scientists who worked on the Hadron, the Collider project, the CERN in Europe, the big collider, and they're looking for the God particle. Well, some scientists now think that because they're looking for the God particle, that's why they're finding it. So some of our, and we have all these things that sort of indicate that, like 1984, the book, if you've read the book 1984, you recognize what's happening around you now. I mean, it's very familiar. So the question is, do we sort of create our own reality by our consciousness? And it's looking more and more like, yes, we do. And so that probably feeds into how we're going to get out of this mess, because we can't get out of it any other way. So there are some people who are scientists, they're fringe right now. They're still pretty much on the fringe, but there are some, most of them that I've read about are in Russia. There are some in the United States, but they're figuring out how to deal with this, how to operate, instead of operating in the material realm, to operate in the what's called the information domain, or some other domain where it's this quantum domain. If you've seen the movie The Matrix, it's where the numbers are falling down. So it's the reality behind our reality that actually creates our reality. And the thing, where we find ourselves right now, I like to explain this with the, if you've seen Fantasia, we need these pictures to understand this stuff, because otherwise it's just too hard. You can't just show people some quantum physics equation and expect them to get it. But if you remember Fantasia, Mickey Mouse he's a magician's apprentice, and the magician wants to take a nap, so he goes away, and Mickey has all these chores to do, so he reads in the magic book how to get the brooms to carry his water for him, and then he starts to take a nap. So he starts this thing in the information domain, but then when the brooms start going crazy, he just runs in with the axe and starts chopping them up, which makes the whole thing worse, because now the brooms start multiplying. So what I'm suggesting, and what these other scientists and basically people who heal diseases are finding out, that by operating in the material realm, we can often make things worse, which is what's happening with Fukushima. It's getting worse now. They're just dumping the radiation into the sea. And we need to go back. Some scientist needs to go to sleep on his couch and figure out how to get rid of radiation. Now, there's some indications that this is possible. I think it was in November of 2011 I think it was called Science magazine, they've discovered, since the sun has been going more active, that there are these new particles coming out of the sun which actually decrease the half-life of the radionuclides, the ones that emit these, which some of them are just have half-lives of
I sure hope
a long
that's true.
time. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that if we all just buy into the consensus reality, then we're in serious trouble, depending on what your consciousness is, but depending on how closely you follow the news and understand what's going on. So we need to get out of our consensus reality and start being a little bit more creative and figuring out some new solutions, which I think there's a lot of evidence that people are doing that, and it just needs to spread. We need to get everybody who's concerned about it to start doing this.
So I think what you're saying is there may be a way out of all these messes that we're in.
Yeah, I think we're just getting pushed into an evolutionary corner, is how I like to think of it, is that, eventually everybody's going to go, gee, we got to do something. Right now we're just sort of, yeah, I got things to do in my life. I can't worry about Fukushima, but when everything's radioactive, you got to eat something. And
of course, I guess it's also possible that won't work, and we are going to come to a kind of messy end.
Well, yeah, but you can't run your life thinking like that. I mean,
no.
You can't be, gee, I'm a dinosaur, I'm getting ready to die. So.
Well, I think we went through just about everything you had on the list, from Bitcoin to Einstein. Is there anything else? We've got a couple of minutes left. If not, I've got disc golf.
Yeah, you want to talk about some disc golf?
Yeah. I mentioned it in the first segment, but I played disc golf. I didn't play. I walked around the course and watched somebody play. And he sent me a short letter, and it said world peace at the end. It said world peace through disc golf. And I think disc golf is great. You're outside, you're walking around in a beautiful place. And he gave me some points. Healthy lifestyle. I mean, shouldn't we all be, finding reasons to go out for a walk in the park? I think so. Easy to learn. I mean, anybody almost can throw a frisbee. People can play in just about any open or forested area. We don't really have places here in Victoria that are set up for people to play, but I think it would be great if we had some.
Maybe we can make some.
I think that's what we got to start doing. It's affordable. You can start off with one disc that costs less than $10, and away you go. So it's not it's not like a lot of sports where you have to spend a lot of money. And people travel to play disc golf. It's a growing sport, and maybe some of them will come here, and it'll be a tourist thing too. So.
Well, I haven't played. I haven't even seen the game played. But the first thing that jumps into mind is you always see dogs stealing frisbees. So I'm wondering if that's something that happens when you play disc golf.
That's a good question.
You haven't seen that either. Okay.
But world peace through disc golf, and I think it's a great thing. Okay, I think we've still got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. Well, I like that idea because that takes our focus off the bombs and onto something positive,
Yeah.
and that's really the focus of what I'm talking about with the observer. The observer in quantum physics has been shown to influence the outcome of the experiment. So I think that if we focus on the bombing parts of things, then we're going to continue to get bombings if that's what we expect. And if we focus on getting world peace and take our mind off that by focusing on frisbee or disc golf. I guess frisbee's a brand name, so you're not supposed to say that, right? But anyway,
things will get better.
Things could get better, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, that was a fascinating conversation. I'm still not exactly sure what Bitcoin is, but since you first told me about it several months ago, I've seen the odd mention in the paper. I mean, if it wouldn't have been for you, I never would have heard about it, so I still wouldn't know, but it seems to be out there in kind of a big way.
Yes, it is getting to be more in the mainstream. And the value of Bitcoins has gone from, I think when they first came on my radar, they were about $4, and now they're up around $100 each.
So that means anybody who bought them for $4
realized a profit, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And there's a finite number, as I understand it. The reason that they're essentially deflationary by their very nature is that they can't create more the way the Fed just prints more money.
But I guess they can if they want to.
Well, no, it's just built into the algorithm that I don't think it's possible. So it's a very complex algorithm, and the encryption is state of the art.
And people use them for
anything. I've seen them for there's some kind of an eBay that takes them, and even some local places now take Bitcoins. I can't remember, there are a couple of places right around here that accept Bitcoins. Okay, Bitcoins and quantum physics. I never thought I'd be talking about either of those things, but away we go. Thank you very much, Will. Thank you. And thanks for watching this segment of Citizens Forum.